Interesting. Impromptu talk with Spizzo and Cliff. Let's go.
There we go.
There we go.
Hey, how you doing, Cliff?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Finally have a chance to breathe a little bit, I feel.
You do or me do?
Well, hopefully both of us.
Right.
Oh,
You know,
Tax season done for Striker and life with Lost Relics for you, right?
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I've been missing your streams. I think you were taking a break, obviously, for doing the tax stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've just been continuing work on the update and everything, without trying to reveal too much. There's been some big changes, I guess, coming. Trying to lay the groundwork and push up a few features that I was going to do later into the forefront a bit quicker now. So, yeah, I won't say too much. I'll do the reveal probably soon.
Ooh, nice. We
just
got a Medium
got a
article
bunch
to
of
read,
stuff.
maybe?
Maybe. I'm not sure yet. It depends. There's been some changes with how I'm doing a few things. So.
That's cool.
We'll see, right?
Yeah. It's always good, man. It's always good. Exciting to know that, around the corner there could be something coming up. And I'm sure, with everything that's been happening with Engine and with Affinity, that's got to be exciting too.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I really knew more about what was going on there. They've been very quiet about what's actually happening, and just sort of saying, I think it was at the end of this month or something. They said that everyone gets access.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's odd that as early adopters like myself and all the other projects, I don't think any of us have gotten any kind of preview or anything like that. And then they just said it's going to be a public release at the end of March. So I'm not sure how that's going to go, or why they're doing that.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, we kind of saw a little bit. I mean, I don't know if this is a fair comparison, but we saw last year how Engine, rolled out JumpNet in general. Granted, this isn't on the same scale.
You're getting at, yeah.
But it still feels good just knowing, there's always a chance for a fresh start, right? Engine's going to get a chance to make inroads and continue along the path over there that they've been trying to set forward, and hopefully game developers and players will be able to benefit from it, but it is going to take time. It's not just flip a switch and, amazing thing happen. Things got to be built out.
That's not how that works. It's just Affinity started and boom, we're all good.
Exactly. Exactly.
I feel like a lot of people do kind of think in that mentality though, where it's like all the problems will be solved the second this thing goes live, and it's like, no, now we can start dealing with new systems for the future.
Yeah.
And so just because Affinity's going live, I feel like you're going to have a new myriad of players being like, well, what the hell? We've been waiting for the Affinity switch, and like you're saying, Cliff, like you haven't heard any much more than the public has.
Well, yeah, I think everyone's being kept in the dark about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that means, like, I guess in the past they've said, they've got big collaborations with larger companies and things, like, they've had Microsoft and I think they even had like BMW or something at one point.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever saw anything come from that.
I didn't hear that one.
There was definitely announcements from both Engine and BMW, but I don't think we've seen any progression on it.
So I don't know why those didn't eventuate. So it's possible that maybe they've got something in the works there with some larger company, and they kind of just letting all us early adopters, fall into the background, even though we've been supporting them for 3 years now.
I guess,
Kinda
right?
sucks.
But that kind of sucks.
Yeah, I kind of hoping. I mean, the way that they orchestrated that, and I don't know, if it was on Engine's part or if it was on Swissborg's part, but I've talked about it before. Like the way that you were able to participate in that Swissborg competition back in 2020. Like that was a really cool idea. A good way for they were able to showcase all these different games. There was interoperability between NFTs that were dropping. And I think it, because of gas fees back then, I'm sure it didn't turn out to be a financial success, but in terms of just, player awareness and adoption, I thought it it was proof of concept to me, and that was really important from my perspective.
Yeah, I do think that I mean, Engine have for many years now said something about they wanted to do a multiverse quest, and they were kind of hoping to be the first ones to do that, as far as I can understand. So I think that Swissborg event kind of stole some of that limelight away, or something like that. But as far as I know, Engine still wanted to do something with all of their multiverse items. Don't know when that's going to eventuate, or if it's going to eventuate, or whether it's kind of going into the back for a while now, because we're all moving to Affinity potentially. So I don't know how that's going to go ahead or not. But I guess we'll see once the 30th comes around, the 31st.
Like in general, like not necessarily speaking about like Engine or whatnot or Affinity, but like in general, it does kind of feel like proof of stake is going to be the future for crypto games, at least because of the reduction in gas fees, and just it does seem like it's going to be easier for people to operate on the blockchain using that method. I don't know what if you think about gaming in proof of stake.
Yeah, no, I mean it's good. I mean it's less secure than proof of work, but obviously it's still proving itself. But in saying that, like, I mean, the gas fee stuff, that is more dependent on how many projects are actually using the network at the time too. There's still fees going to be involved in transfer costs and that kind of thing, and I think that's delegated by the network. I think Affinity are probably going to have fees set at a specific level. They'll probably start them off a bit higher than like what they'll end up being, just so that people don't flood the network while they're still setting things up. But I imagine like we'll go back to what it was 3 years ago when I first launched Forgotten Artifacts.
Yeah.
/ Lost Relics. So
is that something that excites you? The going back.
Yeah, look, it's kind of been hampering things that I can do and fun events and that kind of thing. Like I do recall back to that tablet event that I had where I dropped those tablets and people had to distribute them through the blockchain in order to activate them and that kind of thing, and that added an interesting dynamic. And I just haven't been able to do any of that kind of thing because it's just too expensive. It's like, oh yeah, I got this item for free. Now I have to send it to someone for $60.
Yeah.
Just in gas fees.
What would happen? Like I know we always are focused on Affinity and stuff. Like, what happens if Ethereum 2.0 does what it actually says it's gonna do? Like, wouldn't that actually circumvent 90% of the issues that all of the, that most games are running into at this point? Because most things are built on some Ethereum layer because it's the most popular and most versatile.
As far as I know, Vitalik has always said that everyone should be moving to layer 2s anyway because their system can't handle it. And if you look at what Polkadot's done, they've essentially done all that already.
Yeah, Polkadot is... I think it was so smart to, like, motion forward towards Polkadot. But so I've always actually wondered, because I don't believe that their delivery is ever going to actually happen with Ethereum 2 for the way that they say it's going to work.
Yeah, it might. I mean, the original founders and some of the original developers, like Gavin Wood, who moved to Polkadot, has, they've left that brain trust. So,
yeah.
I don't know where they'll go. Like, I don't know what the future will be for that sort of stuff. But what they've built out with Polkadot seems to be pretty amazing. And I mean, I don't know why people aren't more hyped about it. It's probably just because they don't understand it or know why it would exist or anything like that. Until you
wholeheartedly,
until you actually delve into it and try and get the details and that kind of thing to understand and try and figure out how it all works and see that it actually is an improved version almost of Ethereum in a lot of aspects, and allows that whole layer 2 integration to be at the layer 1 almost, because Polkadot's at layer 0. So
Polkadot always from the start stuck out, in all honesty. While I was working for Market Square, we made 250 videos on cryptocurrencies and random blockchains, like breaking them down. And I found a lot of just, you had realistically like 30 blockchains. Everything else was just a carbon copy of itself, reprinted and rebranded in some other way. But Polkadot, I remember when we did a couple things, and I had partnered with Polkadot, and I was like, they're actually doing like for some reason they're sticking out, and they seem to be as a parachain, because there's tons of choices for parachains, but they seem to actually be integrating and evolving at a much quicker rate than a lot of the other ones when we were learning these random cryptocurrencies and making videos about each one of them. So yeah, Polkadot and the Affinity partnership is another huge reason why I've invested my own personal money into Engine with its evolution, because I believe in those chains. I see what they're doing. They stood out to me when I compared and contrasted them to a ton of different other ones on the broad spectrum.
Sure.
But yeah, there's 1.5 billion parachains that you could choose from, in all honesty.
Yeah.
There are some that, yeah.
My bad. Go for it.
No. You go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, I kind of came from it from the same perspective you did, which was like when I started doing the homework on Polkadot and like what it can hold. I mean, the fact that Gavin Wood is the lead over there with Polkadot and was originally one of the creators of Ethereum as well. There's that added benefit of like seeing how Ethereum has evolved, and then kind of being able to say like, hey, in retrospect, I wish it would have been better if we did things this way or that way, and now some of those things are being implemented. The way I've always seen it from the homework that I've done has been along the lines that like Polkadot has the potential to be Ethereum 2.0, what Ethereum 2.0 is wanting, and then take that to the next level too, right? But for me, what I think is the thing that I'm like really intrigued about, and we won't know what the answer is for years, but when Engines talked about it and Polkadot's talked about the idea of like the standard that's going to be used on Polkadot will be able to make it to where all these different parachains are able to interact with each other, right? So, from my perspective, if we have a platform like Engine, which is trying to compete as the NFT layer of this new ecosystem, like from moment one, they're going to be not only incentivized, but it'll be easier for them to interact with other parachains that are already on the system that are DeFi related, or you name it, whatever new adoption of crypto is. It should be easier in general for those two to be able to interact, which I think is the way that people described Ethereum in the past with money Legos and DeFi and all of that, like that these things are interoperable.
Yeah, exactly. I think we'll see definitely in probably this year, kind of hoping for big things for Polkadot and for their ecosystem as well as Affinity. So I guess we'll see what happens by the end of the year, where that's going to go, especially if they're trying to be the token standard on Polkadot. And they've also got the bridges set up for various other networks to pull all the NFTs across.
Yeah. That pooling of NFTs is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, that's the thing that I don't know a ton about, and just the concept of it, it adds a whole new level to the parachain of that. Yeah, I don't know enough about that to actually like fully comment on how that system works fundamentally, but it gets me very excited for Affinity as an entire network, even separate from Polkadot itself, even though I know Polkadot's core is going to allow that in a sense. But yeah.
I mean, I could do a quick little rundown in general, but like the idea here is that in pretty much people are going to be incentivized to place a bid, to be able to say like, hey, if anybody has this NFT that I want, I will pay you here on Affinity. All you got to do is move it over here. And in the meantime, while we're waiting for that to happen, pretty much like those users are being rewarded with EFI token for the activity. So it's like the marketplace rewarding its participants by putting items and listing items up. What gets me excited is that, in that model, I don't know if necessarily, I'm a little skeptical, I think, on the idea that it's going to be able to like create a tsunami of NFTs coming over. But yeah, I do like the idea that with bids always being up and people pretty much like yield farming, that kind of that'll make it a lot easier for us, for the community to know like what certain items are worth, because they'll always theoretically they'll always be in order up.
Okay.
Yeah, plus for the game side, for Lost Relics in particular, I find that having access, I guess, directly to other NFTs through Engine's ecosystem will also expand what I can support in game too. So for example, if I wanted to show apes or something like that as a painting on the wall, it should be super easy to show that now and to support that, whereas in the existing Engine ecosystem that wasn't possible.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
very good perspective.
See, that puts that into a different perspective to me. Yeah. That is not also what I was anticipating, and
Well, that's just that's
very
not that,
cool. Yeah, not
that's not
that
that
you're
feature.
doing like it's just you could.
Yeah, I mean, being on Polkadot, I mean, is what's going to give them the ability to do that. If they're pulling over other NFTs rather than just being in the Engine ecosystem and supporting ERC 1155 only, they can now support
20s and
720s as well.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Cliff, in general, again, doesn't need to be Engine related, but like, I know in the past there's been conversations about, especially amongst game developers, about whether or not there was actually any incentive for game developers to support other game developers' tokens or NFTs or whatever. And I mean, I get that. I get how that can, hinder people working together. Have there been any other information that's come out or anything that you've come across that you think might be able to help reinforce gaming developers working together rather than working separately?
I haven't seen anything recently. I think the problem is there's not enough live projects that have been doing this for enough time to be able to support each other.
I get you.
Or in the same kind of world. Like there's 2D games like Forest Knight who have been out now for a little while, but all of their items and everything are 2D. There's no 3D items. So there's not like a direct asset swap available there. You have to kind of remake all the art. And while there's some of the relics and things like that I use are 2D, there's other items that, I don't know, it requires, because they're all kind of building at the same time and everyone's kind of trying to put their project up, it makes it difficult to then also account for external things. So even adding the multiverse items that I have at the moment, I've had to kind of think carefully about, if I add that in and I give that a specific ability, how's that going to impact the items that I already have planned, or they're going to be coming out soon, or that were already released. So
Yeah, true that.
it makes it a bit more difficult to do that, and the value proposition for a developer adding it needs to kind of take into account the size of the communities, I guess. I guess you're kind of hoping, if I add support for this item from this other project, maybe I'll get some of their community across in order playing, our game or something. But if that doesn't turn out, or you only get 3 people, then was the hours and hours of effort to add that really worth it, or should you have concentrated on something else? And I think that's the state. That's what I've experienced at the time. There's either no projects, or they just want me to support their items and things to pump up the price of their token, or there's just no sort of community there. They're kind of hoping to feed off of the Lost Relics community,
Right.
maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's kind of, you kind of need to find like for like projects almost, and it is very difficult at the moment with everyone still building, to try and do those kind of collaborations. You kind of need to have like a very finalized or finished base product with everything working correctly, and then you can kind of find places to insert those additional items and features and that kind of thing from other games.
I gotcha.
The only other thing that would, generally in the standard space, these kind of things are done as sponsorships or branded things, where that project will approach you and say, we're willing to pay you whatever you want to charge for adding this item into the game. How much will that cost us, or something like that? That sort of mentality doesn't seem to be in the blockchain space. A lot of them come in and be like, just do this for us for free, just add it for us, and then we're like, okay, what are you going to do back for me, to make that a legit transaction? No, I don't know, nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
It's like
I would
what?
I would even venture it's
fair, right?
one step further, right? Because like we've already seen situations where like I think it was Sushi Swap like went ahead when they
Swap.
when they did their drop, it was they were targeting specifically the Uniswap customers, blockchain users, to be able to like pull them onto their ecosystem. So it's like literally the opposite. It's like people trying to steal other people's communities, or not steal, but
I mean, they did not take business ethics in college.
yeah, I mean,
Not supposed to directly poach, but supposed to subliminally poach on them. I do.
Yeah, I don't know.
remember
I mean,
the
it's
Sushi
still a
swap.
pretty infantile space in terms of that stuff, and everyone trying to build projects, and then it really sucks that there's people out there who are creating projects and then rug pulling and creating scams and all this sort of stuff. Like, it removes a lot of the trust and other things in this space, and removes the legitimacy, because it's just basically causing bad marketing for the space. And while those people who are doing the rug pulls and other things are maybe getting rich off of doing it, it's really screwing it up for everyone else who's trying to do this legitimately.
yeah.
I mean, 100%. You get this like public branding for one of my favorites is, Bitcoin is used for, drug transactions and exploitation. It's like half of that may be true and whatnot, but at the same time, like people don't like. One of my favorite stories was Bitcoin revealing a sex trafficking ring. Like, and exposing that whole thing and doing that, the complete opposite as what the public persona is for a lot of cryptocurrency, and it gets paired with these shady things where there could be 10 legitimate things, and one shady thing gets some national news, and that's what everyone's viewing.
I feel like a lot of that is just misinformation, and
100%.
A lot of the people who are feeling that their industries and other things are going to be impacted by this, just creating FUD. So
1,000%.
I don't think
Human
that's, because I mean,
behavior.
with cash, it's completely traceless. You can
I mean,
go and
yes,
and that
the
happens
exact
more
point.
and more and more in the real world than
What
anything to
funds
do with Bitcoin.
the entire illegal industries of the world? Like, realistically, the US dollar.
Well, that's why they're also clamping down. Like in Australia, for example, I think the highest note you used to be able to get was a $100 bill. They have since stopped doing that because they found that a lot of the illegal activities would start stockpiling $100 bills, because they needed to hold their cash somewhere.
Yeah.
So they limited it now to, I think, $50. So now you need twice as much room to hold money, and making it more annoying for them to move it around and that kind of thing. Which is really interesting way to deal with it, I guess. But
it's hilarious.
It shows you that it's still a huge problem.
Yes, like that. That's why I like your choice of interesting, because it's kind of a funny way to deal with it. Like, all right, well, fuck. Like, we'll increase your storage capacity by 50% across the board, and that's actually going to circumvent some things. But yeah, the idea that cryptocurrency gets painted in these scandals, schemes, pyramid schemes, all these things that have been perpetuated in finance throughout the beginning of time of finance, and they're getting painted there, I think is completely out of what you're saying, is fear of it impacting their industry, and so they report negatively on it. It's like, how many people have become bankable in the entire world because of cryptocurrency that were never bankable before because they didn't have access to a bank, or their government didn't have legitimate banks? Like, the benefit is so huge, and the focus of, in my opinion, a lot of the mainstream media is negative towards cryptocurrency.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying. I 100% agree with it, and I strongly am a supporter, obviously, of crypto. But to be fair, I mean, the ideas here, the issues that are being caused, like cryptocurrency is going to be a huge benefit for a lot of people, but in order for it to be able to get its like foothold in, like there's going to be a lot of destruction too,
Oh, yes.
So like I completely understand the fear that comes with the idea of like, you know, a changing industry or changing financial system, you know, and there is, unfortunately, it's going to get darker before it gets brighter, but
Darkest
like,
before the dawn.
exactly. I mean, the same type of logic also plays into the video game industry, right? Because like, I mean, I know the industry right now may not be taking crypto gaming in general as serious as we may be. But when you think about it, and I was literally talking about it right before you guys messaged me, like, I was watching the part where from the engine discussion with Cliff, where Cliff talks about why the reason why Steam, you know, bans NFTs. Like, why would you ban a JPEG, right? And it's true, you know, but also the reason why they're banning it is because it affects them directly. I mean,
it's fear.
they have
They're
CS:GO skins, they have party hats.
Like,
you know, it's the
they're
evolution.
not going to make as much money.
You know,
I get it.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's still like, it's amazing to be a part of a project that's ahead of that game. And I just got a blockchain. Yeah, buddy. 22 Shadowstones.
Very
got
nice.
a Cerulean Sapphire.
I hit level 45 fishing. Hell yeah. Let's go.
Oh, Cliff.
Crazy.
Side note, while you're here, is it a rim or is it IRIM?
IRIM is how
IRIM.
IRIM.
God damn it.
Yeah, actually,
I was wrong.
while I was watching Corinne's stream, and she is really good at pronouncing everything. So mostly everything she's pronounced is correct. So I know you were asking something about saying you wanted me to pronounce them all for you, but yeah, I mean I can do that. But a lot of what she said is correct too. So she's got a good grasp of English and pronunciation.
I feel like that was the biggest one, or at least for me personally. I'm sure there's ones for other people because there's a big list of them. Like where it's
I mean, it's not necessarily. It's probably not perfect. A lot of the naming and place names and that kind of thing were originally thought up by Rob, and more recently, some of them have been thought up by Cawley. But it was my interpretation then of the spelling that he used as to how I pronounced it too, and it's just gone from there, I guess. So it's possible that people in other languages, like in America, I know you pronounce things slightly differently too, even though the spelling's the same or similar, and it sounds quite different. So it depends on which part of the world's English language you're using, I think, as to how you interpret it.
I would say that is a fair middle ground right there, but me personally, I'm like, whatever you say, that's how it is actually supposed to be.
Yeah, so IRIM in that regard.
IRIM. Okay.
IRIM it is.
I lose. I was Island of a Rim for a long time.
Yeah, a rim for me would be ARIM.
Fair.
Whereas IRIM is IRIM.
If I know FTP is in here, you were right. I was wrong.
Setting the record straight.
Setting it straight. Like, yeah, I was wrong. Cliff, how do you pronounce Ninja Cage? Isn't it just Ninja Cage?
Yeah.
what good variation could possibly?
Oh, you mean like Ninja Kage or something like that, is it?
Write a phonetic version of what you were considering, please. Because I'm really interested. Ninjaya Cage. Keiji. How would you pronounce that?
There's Ninja Cage and Ninja Basuto. But I mean, my pronunciation of Cage might be incorrect too.
Okay, I'm sorry. Like, this is your game. There's no incorrect pronunciation.
GIF versus GIF.
Exactly. Exactly.
No, it's GIF, by the way. It's not
GIF. If you wanted to say GIF, even though, if you're a real one, you know it's GIF. That would be appropriate for the game.
Any others that you wanted to ask while I was there? I won't be able to stay too much longer. I got to head off soon.
I'll let Striker do his thing. I don't want to bogard.
No worries. I don't know. I mean, this obviously came up at the last minute or whatnot. But is there any information you could share about Shadowstones in general? I know I had brought that up like randomly in the middle of your previous talk with Spizzo, and I'm sure I'm catching you off guard right now too. But I just thought it was fascinating looking back over the course of the past few months and like seeing how many Shadowstones were dropping. I've always kind of guessed that, and you might have talked about it before and I missed it, but I kind of always assumed that whenever like a purchase happened in the blockchain emporium, that was what that like would trigger the next round of Shadowstones to be dropped or something. I don't know if that logic's even correct or whatnot, but yeah, I don't know if there's anything you might be able to share on that.
I mean, the way it works is there is a treasury of Shadowstones, which I initially seeded with my own JEng.
Sure.
And so as people do trades on the marketplace, there's the portion that gets put back into that treasury. So if you think of it like just a large bag or something like that, or a fund or whatever you want to call it, just like a counter basically. So that has all the Shadowstones. Yeah. So whenever you run an adventure and it rolls the Shadowstones for you, they'll be taken from that treasury. And so far the treasury has never run dry. It's probably about half of the original amount that I put in, when was it? Several months ago. Like it's down to that, but that's because it keeps getting replenished.
Sure. It goes down and then the purchase happens, goes back up slowly over time.
Yeah, by cells and everything.
Yeah, but
right?
it's never gone dry. It's never that there's been none left to give anyone. So it means that at least the economy is moving and there's Shadowstones circulating.
Sweet. I think you implemented the Shadowstone system like around August of last year. Is that correct?
Oh, was it that long ago?
I think or was it? I mean, I'm trying to remember. Was it if it was before or after the Halloween event of 2021? I think
I can't remember.
I think it was maybe right before.
It might have been. I did it kind of quietly because I wasn't really sure how it would go.
Sure.
In terms of just the different mechanics of it and that kind of thing. Like I know all these other projects have been just creating their own coin and then giving that coin out. But I don't know, I feel that doing it this way with some other cryptocurrency backing it that isn't directly only related to the game gives it a way better value and liquidity and everything too.
Yeah,
like you're not just getting your players trying to mine all the currency out and then everyone complaining that all the early players got it all. It's like, well, Engine's been around for ages. There's a huge circulation of it out there, and really these are just backed by those same items. So if the price of Engine goes up, then the price of Shadowstones goes up, and likewise for when it goes down. So it just seems like a better stable way to do it as well. And I'm not dropping them every single time you run into the dungeon. It's not meant to be a basic income.
Right.
So it's still got randomness in there, because like imagine if let's say I'd seeded it with 100,000 Shadowstones and everyone got 1 or 2 every time they ran an adventure. And there was maybe
value of it.
Well, no, just that it would be spread out to everyone's account and no one would have enough to buy anything. They would just have small amounts of it and then the whole treasury would be empty.
Right, exactly.
So by randomly doing it, at least it's kind of spreading it out and getting like, smaller chunks and then larger chunks here and there. Theoretically, you should at some point, not too far on, be able to afford something, or at the very least you could top up your account with your own.
Yeah, I mean, I was able to use just from Shadowstone drops, over the course of the time that I was playing. I was able to use it to get a Jasper Jewel. I don't know if the prices went up and I got it at a lower or whatever, but like it kind of incentivizes that continued progression, investing back into the economy, which is really cool. I
don't think that's in any other games. It's kind of the whole point of that. The fee structure in there was to ensure that players can't just take Shadowstones and withdraw them straight away from the game. Like all that's going to do is suck out the entire value of the game, and then no one has any items, and everyone's just stolen all the Shadowstones basically for free. Whereas by forcing you to convert those through the marketplace into something else, it actually stimulates the entire marketplace and allows people to buy and sell things and to trade things and to actually have it actively flowing, because it's like incentivizing the whole marketplace.
Yeah, exactly. I also thought that there was a unique opportunity that the Shadowstone backing with Engine provides. Since on the Affinity white paper, Engine has made an announcement in terms of like the future use of Engine and what that could mean for the new Affinity network. And for anybody that hasn't read the white paper, it pretty much is the idea that Engine holders will have the power to vote on the security, one of the security portions of the new Affinity chain. So when I had heard about that, the idea popped in my head, and I don't know if it's something you even ever considered, but it just popped in my head, the idea of, I knew that Lost Relics had for a period of time, was generating and probably is still generating the largest exchange of Engine amongst its player base within its own economy, which I guess theoretically could mean that in the future, if that continues to grow, that Lost Relics as a game or as an economy could have the ability to be one of the security, network, one of the holders of that collator nodes that could benefit not only Affinity, but the economy of Lost Relics. I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, so I haven't announced it anyway. I've just been trying to be in discussion with Engine about it, but we're definitely going to be setting Lost Relics up as a validated node.
Hell yeah!
So and you'll be able to use your Engine to vote for the Lost Relics validator node, and I think it depends really on what features they give and what kind of visibility they give as to who does the voting, because I could theoretically make it so that if you vote for the Lost Relics validator, that you get some kind of bonus in game. For I think basically staking your Engine towards that, to using your Engine to vote for the validator. So the validator would be earning EFI from the transactions by being voted in, and in in exchange, they can then do something else. I don't know whether that's going to be an in-game thing or whatever it's going to be, but I'm just saying, like, if they have the ability for the game to be able to see who is doing the voting and how much and that kind of thing, then it means that I should be able to do some kind of reward system for that too.
Could that be based off of in-game value with Engine?
What do you mean?
Just straight holding of Engine? So if I had 10,000 Engine, or if I had 10,000 Engine in the game?
It'll be in your wallet as far as I know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if it's straight Engine. It seems like they're doing it so that it needs to be Engine within items. So you need to be holding FTs or NFTs with Engine backing in order for it to be able to be used. I think. I'm not sure. I need to double check that. It's a bit murky on it's a bit murky on the actual white paper about that, and in the past, Engine have changed things anyway, so I'm not too sure which way around they're going to go around that. They probably haven't given many details because it's going to change.
Fair.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Like, that's what I'm kind of waiting for all these extra details and extra information and in the API to be able to play with a few things to see what exactly can be done. So yeah, it'll depend on the future, I guess, on what they do end up releasing. Most likely they're just going to do MVP for the first release. They'll probably just have the ability to create tokens. I don't know. I'm assuming since they will be importing tokens from other networks, that they'll have to support tokens without Engine backing, because otherwise they won't be able to import them. So I imagine that'll probably be MVP. Whether they also have the ability to create tokens with Engine backing on that first release, maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know. They're just kind of light on details.
Fair enough. Last one for you, Cliff. I know you got to run. Just I've been dying to ask you this one in general, and I know there's not going to be an answer right now, but just the idea about like whether or not there's been any thought process behind it or in general. Have you given any thought? Ooh, Shadowstones. 37, nice. Sorry.
Ooh, baby.
Congrats.
One of the one of the things that I've been playing around in with my head for, I mean, a while now. You know, when we're talking about the idea of like digital ecosystems being games, one of the elements like to create a thriving ecosystem is the idea of entrepreneurship, the idea that different areas can incorporate people creating their own ideas, products, businesses, services, whatever. Have you ever thought about an idea about what that, if that's something that could exist inside Lost Relics? The idea of players being able to run their own type of little, business might be a strong word, but their own little ventures within Talmuth or within your game.
Yeah, definitely. Have definitely given that considerable thought. There is some plans that we've got coming up for, I guess, the next couple of updates. One of them, obviously, everyone knows about being housing, and some of it being around land ownership and that kind of stuff, where it gives you some sort of a benefit or passive income or something like that from owning certain things or setting certain things up in a particular way. I'm being kind of vague because
Sure, of course.
I don't want to say anything specific.
Yeah, gameplay and
and
ecosystem. I mean, structure first, right? I mean, it has to be that way.
It's still in the planning phase, so it's not ready to be announced or anything like that yet. But yes, definitely have been thinking about how that's going to work and how it's going to tie into the whole universe.
That's super exciting. Super exciting just to know that there's potential, for the development in the future.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think with the way that Shadowstones has been working as well, I think it can kind of underpin a lot of the features coming as well in terms of maybe how you obtain them or how they're recycled, among other things. Like I've also mentioned the pet progression that's being worked on. Most of you know it's going to be potentially pets attacking, but I also want to convert them into actual NFTs. And in fact, all the pets that are out there at the moment with unlimited supplies, I kind of feel like, so my plan at the moment, just to kind of take a bit of a detour, is
Sure.
The move to Affinity, I feel would be better done as me destroying the existing items on Engine and then recreating the new ones from scratch on Affinity. Like, sorry, not the new ones, but just everything. Because it gives me a chance to fix up some of the experimental and missteps and things that I took with some of the early items, like the unlimited pets. So I originally created those as unlimited because I wasn't sure how many I'd sell. And like a standard store, it was going to be, oh, this item will be available for this amount of time. And then at the end of that time, they'll be stopped. And that's how many there are. But since doing those sort of sales, I've learned that a lot of people don't actually like that, even though that's what they all do in Fortnite and other things. People actually really do prefer seeing how many there are so they can make their own decisions about getting them. So, for example, I'll be changing that. There's another unknown question on Efinity yet. Previously, whenever I created items that weren't unlimited and were instead collapsing, which is pretty much all of them, when you set the supply, you have to pre-mint them all. So whenever I would create a new item and I would set the limited supply of, say, 1,000, I had to immediately create all of those items at that time and spend the engine into them. So in the create function, it was spent at the same time. And then I also then minted them at the same time in order to reduce costs later, because it cost per transaction after that. So there was a lot of those decisions that were done. I am kind of hoping that I don't have to do some of that anymore in Efinity. And that will mean that when you look at the blockchain to see the records, you can see that the items are unminted, and they only get minted when they get sent to an account wallet. So there's some interesting things like that. Like, I mean, some of that won't make sense to people, but I'm kind of looking at using the move to Effinity as a break away from what was already created and trying to fix up a few of the things. Yeah, and standardize everything across it. So I'm really looking forward to doing that, which is why I've said it's a good idea to send in your items to the game. Because
I actually just got that done. I was having errors for a couple weeks, but
it's tough with the gas, and I don't know when it's going to go down, if it's going to go down. And so if you can't afford to send it whenever, then I understand that. I'm not going to be necessarily saying here's the end date to move those items across or anything, because I don't know when that'll be. That may be reliant on if Engine decide to take offline their old APIs that I'm using at the moment.
Yeah, but that wouldn't be your decision. It would be like an end all be all of the network's decision.
Yeah, I mean, it would suck if it was at a time when the gas price was the highest, which is why I'm saying just use your own decisions here.
Go to a tracker, and wait for low metrics and do it. It's really easy on the website.
Yeah, so I can't remember, what was your original question? I kind of did a massive circle around there.
No, I mean, I think you covered it, because we kind of were talking a little bit about like the idea of like entrepreneurship inside game worlds and building, just giving players the ability to like build businesses or build, because like really just anything that gets built, I guess, within a video game, ecospace is obviously going to help that ecosystem thrive. And I honestly, from what I've seen from like the Lost Relic player community, like we've seen artists put up renditions of the song of the opening theme. We've seen a lot of extremely talented content creators. I'm just excited to see like what those type of creatives are able to add or bring in when the time comes, in due time.
Yeah, definitely. I'm kind of hoping, like, I mean, this next update won't have I guess an exclusive thing. The next update won't have multiplayer, but the one there afterwards, I'm already aiming for multiplayer.
Jeez, man, that's crazy.
And that'll be in the form of co-op arena.
Co-op arena,
buddy.
So like,
we just got some major hits.
That's huge. That's ridiculously huge. I'm running around the map and I have no clue what I'm doing, just thinking about it.
Hell yes, I'm so ready.
So that's not this next update, because in this next update, there's a lot of fundamental system changes in order to make room for some of the changes coming. But there's also a lot of changes in of themselves anyway. It's not like the last 3 months have been doing nothing. It's like I've been just constantly grinding on the game. There's there's going to be a lot of changes around so many different things with the environment, with the adventures and that kind of thing. And then, I mean, there's still more to come after that. So it's not like it's going to be released and we're all done. I'm like, yep, cool. Now you've got everything. It's as per usual. We're still pushing towards building bridges to the next section and stuff. So I know that everyone is really super hyped to do co-op. So I think that's now become the primary focus after this update in order to get out. I've also finally found a good system to use for that, which theoretically should allow for zero lag across the entire world.
Wow!
So,
hell yeah, dude!
It should be easy to play with someone. Like, I should be able to play with you guys overseas.
We will
without any issues.
You mean
that would be amazing?
When we play together, it will have no issues.
That would be amazing. I mean, wow, what a that caught me completely off guard.
Bomb, dude. That's a bomb.
That is a bomb. That's huge. Yeah.
So there's still some groundwork to do for that stuff.
Sure, of course.
And there's quite a bit of in order to make it that sort of zero lag thing, there's a certain way that you have to build the game and the logic and that kind of thing. So got a little bit of work ahead in order to get through that. Probably say a couple of weeks at the very least. And there's some systems that have recently changed that I've fixed up. So for example, there's a navigation issue at the moment where sometimes you'll be I guess in particular, it's the outdoor maps where you'll just hit a wall and you can't move any further. And that's just related to the navigation system that I've been using. So I ended up using a different one for this next patch. And then I'm going to need another one after that for the multiplayer. So kind of shows you the hoops I'm jumping through in order to get to that point in time. There's a couple of rewrites needing to be done in order to support that. Because the information wasn't available, or the project wasn't available then to me, but it is now.
That's crazy. Man, I don't know. if you were tuning in for getting some feedback from Cliff, I don't know what could be bigger than that, to be quite honest.
A hot damn. That's what that is. That's just a hot damn.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome, dude.
This is probably, there's going to be a bit of an impact to the standard event schedule. I'm actually thinking about redoing how the event schedule is done so that it's not following necessarily with the common holidays, and instead we just have our own event schedule within.
I like that.
Sweet.
Because, I think at the moment we get that event at the end, Halloween and then Christmas, and it's very close together. And then there's a bit of a gap until Easter, and then there's another gap until Halloween again.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of redoing it
on a schedule that I don't personally like. I would rather have like when shit's ready, it's ready. I don't want you to be necessarily focusing on like, oh crap, like I have this whole new cool system that everybody actually wants, but I have to do this event.
Yeah, sometimes it does get in the way. I mean, it's good because it helps with revenue generation and allows me to pay for services and other things. So I do need to do them, but at the same time, I think we just have to come up with, like, it could be just 4 times a year or something like that, spread out evenly so that it sort of keeps going.
An idea. I had one.
But the other thing that would help with this whole thing is, I know everyone's sort of just waits for the events to happen, and in between they kind of feel bored because it's just the same grind. There are other game modes and other events and things like that coming to fill all those spaces in as well. Like I've always said, we're just layering things on top and on top and on top. So eventually we're going to be to a point where you just jump in whenever, it doesn't matter, you just stuff happening all the time. So there should be less reliance and less focus on just when these events are happening. So that it doesn't really matter. You should just always be jumping in and playing.
I'm so pumped about that because it's also something I've been selling for a long time, where I was like, a lot of people had been critical in the past, like Lost Relics hasn't progressed, and it's like the creator didn't want skills, we did, and he revamped the entire goddamn game to incorporate that. Yeah. And do you know how long that takes to do to a game that's active?
Well, I think that's the key,
like,
right?
Not even a game that's like in beta where it's like that takes a long goddamn time, but we're all able to play it and he's still doing it, and people have the audacity to say something like that. And then we have this update that you've said that is going to have self-generating dungeons to where the way that you want them. So that opens you up to all this other stuff like you're saying. But it annoyed the crap out of me because it's like, do you realize the work that goes into that?
I think that's the key, Spizzo, right? Like the key here is that, and it's coming to fruition because of the fact that this is crypto gaming. But I think the fact this is the first time I think that players are really, other than like the previous early access games, like now with the idea of people, owning their own assets, it puts more of a weight on it. But obviously gamers don't know the complexity of game development. And like, I've been doing my best to try to understand it a little bit more, just so that I can make my own decisions and stuff. But the truth of the matter really comes down to expectations. And I mean, I think it's also fair to say that gamers have had, unfair expectations in general across all games, not just Lost Relics.
That's 100% true.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll
But
see it all the time for other game releases too, right?
Every industry.
exactly.
Like
It,
everyone's so
I
easy to criticize. It's really hard to build stuff. It's easy to criticize. So a lot of people
very
just
easily.
take to criticizing.
And there's also what that I forgot that statistic or whatnot. It's a marketing, statistics that's saying like for every like negative, for every
Yes,
time
the
someone
negative perception,
puts a
yeah,
negative opinion out
metric.
on exactly on the internet,
You need
it's like.
5 positives to outweigh 1 negative.
But not
And
only that, like the likelihood that someone's going to share negative input versus share positive input
10 times
is
more.
10. Yeah, exactly.
10 times more. I work in marketing. 10 times
Yeah,
more, which
that's
is
it.
so
I mean,
obnoxious. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you know what's up.
But I've been trying to fight against that because that's annoyed the shit out of me. I've been preaching that this was the year that we were going to see like real in-game changes because the core systems are done. He's done dealing with our bullshit, which I say "our" with the skills. It's like for anyone who wants to downgrade anything with Lost Relics as Cliff as the creator, it's like he has a whole system that we wanted, he didn't. We love it. He's adopted it and he's absorbed it and he's working with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just me doing some of that stuff. It's also Corey helping massively on that side.
Yes,
a lot
true.
of design work and other things. His
But the weight that
ideas.
goes into
Things
that type of a change to the core element of something because you're listening to the people that are playing the game.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's a far cry
Undeniably
from what it
great.
originally was. So.
Yeah.
But that's fine. Like it's cool that it's kind of evolving. It's also throwing challenges for me to do. I don't think there's anything I've come across so far that I haven't been able to sort of solve or get out the way. So that's pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
There's been a few challenges along the way, obviously, as we go in. Like the Easter event last year was pretty stressful.
Would you mind, Cliff, real quick, the idea, like what you just said right now about there was obviously challenges along the way. Would you be able to just verbalize some of those? And it doesn't need to be related to this game, but just what would you say some of the hurdles have been over the past couple of years? And then two, like you've obviously been able to make it past each hurdle. Like I was telling people for the longest time that, one of the key drivers to success in crypto is to be able to make it over those hurdles and continue to survive as a project. Would you be able to just go over any of those basic ideas? Just so people can understand a little bit about some of the complexity behind all of this?
Yeah, I'll see if I can remember. I mean, there's been internal as well as external. Obviously, the biggest external was probably gas fees. We had that whole quest system designed around sending items into the game, so you'd send them from your wallet in, and then every time you found an item, you'd send it straight out to your wallet, and then you could see ownership and everything. When gas fees went through the roof, I was spending a fortune. I lost thousands and thousands of dollars just sending items to people, and so I had to quickly change how that worked in order to provide some way for people to pay me beforehand to then send them out. Unfortunately for me as well, that's added a massive tax implication because they sent me ETH and then I spent the ETH to send them the items. Well, I'm still paying capital gains tax on that. So that was a bad move by me, and I've lost a bit from that. But at least it helped solve some of the gas issues on my side, and then on the player's side, I made it so we had to create an entire in-game marketplace in order for everyone to trade their items because you couldn't even trade your items on public marketplaces. It was just too expensive, and in order to change a listing, it cost you just as much as it costs to send an item or to list in the first place. And I think at several points there that went up to several $100s. So you create a listing for an item and trying to sell it for $2, and it's going to cost you $100 to list it. So I had to create an entire marketplace, in-game marketplace. I was essentially reproducing some of the blockchain features that I was hoping to rely on. That's, encoding and stuff. That's like using a library or someone else's library and saying, yeah, I'm going to rely on that. And then I don't have to worry about it, and they'll have the upkeep of that. But in this case, I couldn't do that now because the gas fees have gone up.
Sure.
So that's like an example of an external thing. One of the internal things, I guess, was with the Easter event, just trying to do some of the scaling work to many thousands of concurrent players, there was a library that I was relying on in order to. So I had about 20 different servers running at one time in order to host everyone. And it would just kind of shift the responsibility across all of those servers as new players came in, and feeding the requests and stuff. There was a communication layer between all of those, so that if a player on, let's say, server 1 did something in particular, maybe they got a new item to their wallet, or maybe they got credited with a new item, that server then had to tell all the other servers that this player had a new item, so that they could invalidate their caches. They had like caches of what the player had, so that whenever the player then connected to them, it would know what the latest state was, and it wouldn't have to look it up or anything. It's a bit technical, but
Sure.
Basically that was like an example of an internal thing. So I had to figure out what the hell was going on, and then try and get everyone to stop playing for a while, terminate the services, try and figure it out, try and reproduce it again, because it doesn't reproduce when you just got a handful of test instances going, and it didn't reproduce when you had hundreds of tests running on that either, because you can't reproduce the same randomness in player behavior that you can. So that was fun.
How many of those hurdles do you think are specifically crypto related?
Only the external one, I guess. That internal one was just different, like centralized servers. If I had everything running on, like, for example, if Lost Relics wasn't a real-time game and was a turn-based game, like a lot of the card games and other things, then that communication issue wouldn't exist, because the contracts run the code themselves, and the contracts just runs on the blockchain. So there's a huge lag in between each move. It's all turn-based, and you don't need servers. Like, I'm paying thousands for servers every month, but you don't need that if your game is just running on a contract on the blockchain. At the same time, you can't do the kinds of things that we have in Lost Relics on the blockchain yet. It's not fast enough.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. I'm sure a lot of this is, perspectives that from, gamers are listening to it. These are things that they're not dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So, and
Not at all.
And obviously they have it's impossible for someone to be able to understand, what building out these types of projects would take.
That goes on.
Yeah, I don't think that people need to necessarily learn about it or to understand it. Like, a lot of people just won't. I think what they need to just do is to just have more empathy and understanding, and try and think, what would it be like in a stressful situation or something like that, having thousands of people yelling and screaming at you to do something. Like, whether you had one person or you had a team, the end result would be the same.
It would.
You would have a lot of people scrambling around trying to fix things. They're not meaning to screw up your day. They're not trying to ruin your holiday or whatever it happens to be. It's just something happened. Like, I feel like 2022 is trying to almost crazy year as was 2021. Right? Like, we've got war and the pandemic and everything. Like, it just seems like nothing's slowing down, and it seems like a lot of things are going wrong. Like, you might order, say, a desk fan or something like that. It seems like they seem to be breaking a lot more often at the moment than previously. I don't know why that is, whether there's less care taken because people are rushing, trying to get things out quicker.
I know, mass production
it's not just the software industry. It seems to be hardware and building and all that kind of thing. Like, it doesn't seem to matter. You hear about these stories about issues and delays and everything everywhere. So I think people just need to have a bit of understanding. If they don't understand how it works that thing, they just need to realize maybe that, or try and figure out why that would be that case, and maybe take a step back and not get angry about it all the time, like a lot of people seem to resort to.
Well, I will say that people do not understand the ripple effect that comes with the pandemic, but just in life. Because it's like, try to go get a graphics card, a good graphics card, and pay like a reasonable price for it. No one thinks that that's ridiculous at this point in time, in all honesty. That's trying to actively get one, because they understand the metric of the market.
Yeah, I know. And most people's reaction is to get angry about it or
Yes,
to
and
start criticizing all that kind of thing.
I
And it's easy
don't
to do
blame
that.
them. I do not blame them for it because it is a arguable metric of the market, but I'm a realist. That is the market. Sorry.
Yeah. But jumping up and down, screaming about it,
Yeah,
posting
it
trolling
doesn't
content
change
and stuff doesn't change
anything.
anything.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to pay $1,600 for a 3,900 card,
Yeah.
but if
And
I
that's
want
fine.
one,
And you wouldn't.
that's like
That's
what you have to do right now, but you don't have to do it right now.
yeah.
So the flux of the market, yeah, it's just the nature of the business, and I understand that a lot of people don't understand the true nature of the business with
Yeah.
where, even with cryptocurrency, it's like cryptocurrency is down, but if you look at, 10-year metrics, this is exactly what you would have expected.
I mean, there's a lot of external factors into
There
a lot
are.
of things these
There are.
days.
There's no actually determining, but it's like the idea of the like mass plunge where engine drops from 379 to $1.50, and people are like the network itself is flawed. It's like no, that's just a nature of the business with cryptocurrency. Like Ethereum's down. Why would engine not be down?
Yeah,
Like
there's a lot of people just focused on price as well,
yes,
instead of what the projects are building and that kind of thing.
that's kind of what
Um,
I'm talking about, where it's like the projects are building hugely profitable industries and have huge projections for being like Engine was one of the first ones. That's why I had Scicoin big and then I switched to Engine as my big random investment. And none of this is financial advice. But I would say I believe in what Engine's doing, and Engine was one of the first blockchains that I saw dealing with multiverse. Like, as much as we want to talk about Affinity, Engine was a huge player in that. Like, I have multiple items that are multiverse items that the whole reason why I bought them was because 5 games could use them. Who else was doing that?
I mean, it's a good point. I mean, it goes back to the idea I was saying about that Swissborg event, right? Like that, I got that same way you just said that. It's the same feeling I got
Yes.
back then when I started.
Yes.
For me, COVID had just hit. I wasn't able to play softball or kickball or anything anymore. I wanted some way to be able to get my competitive kicks going,
Yeah.
and then I found a crypto gaming contest, and I was like, okay, let's give it a shot. And then found Lost Relics, and everything else is history.
Same here. I mean, it's
all
like,
right, I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna have to bail.
No worries, my friend.
But
Thank you so much.
that's all right. I'll hopefully have some more updates soon. I've been very quiet about things just because the magnitude of some of the changes. I don't know where to start when even describing some of them. Some people probably won't notice the effect of those changes. So I got to kind of figure out how I'm going to word it and that kind of thing. But hopefully I'll have an announcement soon about what's happening and just give some more details.
Sounds
oh,
good.
yeah,
man.
brother.
Yeah, can't wait.
All
Good
right.
luck to you, and hope all is going well, and do what you keep doing. You're killing it.
Cheers.
Yeah,
Have a good
man.
stream. Have a
We're
good stream.
all followers. Remember, like, yeah, we all love you.
Catch you later, Cliff.
Cheers, guys. See you guys.